Hello, welcome to the morning news. We have two top stories today. The first one takes us to El Salvador. The transport boycott called by street gangs last Monday has continued. They killed a seventh bus driver for defying the campaign to shut down public transport. The powerful and ultra-violent gangs warned the government to include them in the Security Council. President Salvador Sánchez Serén has rejected the idea and has refused to negotiate with the criminals. Drivers are calling on the government to effectively deal with the issue.
What is happening? These strikes don't stop the transport sector. We want the government to clarify to everyone the origins of all these murders, this disaster that is happening with the transport sector and the national economy.
Our second top story takes us to the Reunion Island on the coast of Africa. The mysterious disappearance of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 might have finally come to an end, although officials say it's too soon to confirm. Debris from a Boeing 777 has washed up on the island. A suitcase has also been found there. Experts have traveled to Reunion to determine whether the debris actually belongs to flight MH370 that went missing about 16 months ago.
Now, this is obviously a very significant development. It's the first real evidence that there is a possibility that a part of the aircraft may have been found. It's too early to make that judgment. But clearly we are treating this as a major lead and seeking to get assurance about what has been found and whether it is indeed linked to the disappearance of MH370.
In Latin America, we start off in Bolivia. President Evo Morales announced a new plan to resolve a territorial dispute with Chile. The plan would involve the mediation of Pope Francis to achieve a solution of the standoff. Bolivia lost its coastal territory after being defeated in Chile in the 1880s, a War of the Pacific, and has for decades fought to regain the corridor that would allow the country access to the sea. But Chilean authorities have said they reject the third-party involvement since the case has been reviewed by the world's court. During a news conference in La Paz City, Morales said he was open to re-establishing diplomatic ties.
I want to say to the Chilean government, we agree on re-establishing diplomatic relations so that in less than 5 years, the issue of sovereign sea access to the Pacific Ocean for Bolivia is resolved.
And still in Bolivia, negotiations between the government and strike miners broke down after both sides accused each other of abandoning the talks. The strike comes as mineral prices have fallen. Miners claim the government refuses to sign an agreement on developing plans in the Potosí department, while the government claims the strike is politically motivated and that miners abandoned the talks for no reason.
We have waited for them very patiently, but we have just found out through the media that they are abandoning negotiations without a valid explanation.
Taxi drivers in Mexico and Colombia launched protests against the car-hailing app Uber, accusing the company of stealing their business. The protests come a day after Uber vehicles were destroyed by the demonstrations in Mexico City. Taxi unions worldwide are demanding for regulation for the San Francisco-based company app to avoid unfair competition. Uber says it is open to working with Latin American governments to find a reasonable set of regulations for their company.
We're here in front of this embassy to show our support and protest the global discontent from legal taxi unions who are against these transnational apps which perpetuate a crime each time they transport a passenger.
We now go to Colombia, where the trial against 13 social activists continues. Our correspondent Natalia Margarita tells us more.
Once again, Jose has found himself in a courtroom. His son Luis Daniel is among the 13 social activists publicly accused of being involved in attacks allegedly carried out by the ELN guerrilla group. And even though the judicial investigation is still underway, the 13 of them have already been sent to jail.
Aquí en este país se acostumbra a estigmatizar.
Here in Colombia, it is common to stigmatize those who think different from those who conduct the country. Any person that carries out social work in vulnerable communities, such as campesinos or indigenous communities, and being treated like this.
De esta manera.
Social work from the grassroots was all that these activists share in common, when suddenly they found themselves accused, even by President Santos himself, as involved in 2 bomb attacks in Bogotá. Later, the evidence presented by the authorities linked the activists with a student protest.
It is usual that students hold protests, and that does not represent any hazard nor the seriousness that has been aimed to demonstrate not just during the judicial hearings, but in general by the media and also by the deployment of all public forces that are right now here.
Human rights lawyers consider this case a political one. There has yet to be a sentence and proper evidence is lacking. However, the activists have already been publicly condemned in what has been labeled as a judicial false positive, a practice commonly used in Colombia to stigmatize social movements.
Shamefully, it seems this practice will be endured by this government, which amidst a peace process continues to prosecute and criminalize people that organize and think differently in this country.
The case comes as Colombia's peace process continues, but also right when a de-escalation of the conflict is underway, something that for peace advocates must include also a de-escalation of hostilities towards social movements. Natalia Margarita, Telesur, Bot.
A University of Cincinnati police officer who fatally shot an unarmed black man has been charged with murder after a grand jury investigation. The Hamilton County prosecutor Joseph Detters called the July 19th death of Samuel Dubois completely senseless and unnecessary. He also said white police officer Wright Tenzing should have never been a policeman. Tenzing would face life in prison if convicted. Tenzing would face life in prison if convicted. A video was shown proving Tenzing lied about the incident. The crisis of the 5,000 migrants continues in Calais, France. The migrants are desperate to reach Britain and begin a better life. Many of them have families waiting for them in the UK, but they might never get there. France and the United Kingdom have agreed to return the migrants back to their countries of origin. In the meantime, the migrants tried to cross the tunnel, which has turned out to be a dangerous thing, as 9 have died in their attempt.
All Europe, you know that England is good. Everybody, you know that. I wanna make family in there. My family in Africa, he waiting me, you know. I don't have money now. I don't have future. I don't have anything here. No eat, no sleep, no shower, no house.
Israel continues to violate human rights, particularly against the people of Palestine. Its parliament has passed into law the ability to force-feed Palestine prisoners on hunger strike. Force-feeding is considered dangerous and could cause the death of the victim. The measure has been met by strong opposition from the country's medical association, as well as by officials in the occupied territories.
Israel is again listing its crimes and aggressions towards the Palestinian prisoners under what it calls law. The situation is threatening the prisoners' lives and even against the ethics of the medical profession.
Fresh clashes have erupted between Jewish settlers and Israeli border police. This after Israel's High Court issued orders to demolish 2 housing structures in a West Bank settlement. For a second day in a row, the settlers threw rocks against police and set tires on fire. The police responded with water cannons to disperse the protest. Various settlers were injured and others were arrested. In an attempt to quell riots, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced 300 new housing units in the Palestinian line of Beit El.
Argentinian football legend Diego Armando Maradona has confirmed his bid for FIFA's presidency. The star and former director of the Argentine football team explained in a video message that he would fight against the mafia within FIFA. He was referring to the rampant corruption that has been unveiled in recent months. The elections for the presidency of the organization are set to be held in December or early next year. And now for a culture story. Renowned Cuban singer Silvio Rodriguez welcomed the reopening of diplomatic ties between the U.S. and Cuba. He said both countries should continue moving forward in their relation. His comments came after he was honored in Havana for organizing free concerts in underserved parts of the city. Rodriguez formed part of the delegation of 30 representatives of the Cuban society who went to Washington July the 20th to participate in the official ceremony of the reopening of the Cuban embassy. Rodriguez is known as the voice of the Cuban Revolution for his comment with socialist ideas which inspired the 1959 revolt.
Consumerism to me seems to be a capitalist deformation. I hope capitalism doesn't come to Cuba, as capitalism is known.
More on these and other stories on our website, telesurtv.net/English. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ray Gomez. Have a good day.